So, for anyone who doesn't know, Dr. Mike recently went on Jubilee for a video called Dr. Mike versus 20 Anti-Vaxxers. And I saw this clip of it, which is what made me decide I wanted to watch it.
Anti-vaccine lies cost lives.
I just had a baby, 7 months old. And, you know, my baby, I was like, no, I'm not getting any vaccines. The doctors came in, they made me feel like a very bad mother for not doing that, right? I was
That's because you are.
very pressured. And then I had a family friend who had a baby at the same time, was a few months in, gave vaccines to the baby, and the baby had seizures and has had seizures since.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the birth of a 7-month-old. The fact that anyone made you feel bad in the healthcare system, I feel like is a failure on us in the healthcare system, so I'm sorry that happened to you. In healthcare, it's very difficult to predict the future because there are so many unknowns and there's so many variables in healthcare. There are things that are that are outside of our control, and we try to do the best with the limited amounts that we can control. So when we see two things happen simultaneously in healthcare, sometimes we think they have caused one another. But unless we see a pattern of that happening over and over again on a large scale, it's more likely that this is just a coincidence of things happening at the same time. For example, I have a friend of mine who's a physician who vaccinates children very regularly. And they were about to give a child a vaccine. And before giving the vaccine, the child had a seizure. They went on and had more seizures throughout their life and ended up actually dying at a very young age because of a seizure disorder. The vaccine was never given. Had that happened 2 minutes later, what do you think would have been in the mother's mind and in the father's mind in that situation? Other than, I definitely think that vaccine caused that problem. It could have just as easily happened before, which it did, and the vaccine wasn't responsible. So it's very difficult when two things happen at the same time to be able to make an exact reason as to if that's what happened to cause it. So what we do is we admit that there's safety issues with vaccines.
Right.
They're not 100% safe. Nothing in life is 100% safe. Driving or walking here today is not 100% safe. I could have a heart attack right now. Cannot predict it. But what we can do is try to do the best that we can with the information that we have.
Like, the reason why I've said that I think this will be a frustrating Jubilee watch for all of us is because I don't have this patience. Like, I just don't. I just don't know that I have the patience. I ate a taco and then I won the lottery. If you eat tacos, you win the lottery. That's actually true. There is no difference between correlation and causation. They are actually the same thing. It's so frustrating. Dr. Mike is so charitable, and I was yelling at my monitor last night. Yeah. Meevies, thank you for the 5 gift subs. Thank you. Thank you for informing everyone that I am streaming right now. Okay, let's shall we take a peek? I know that there's a lot more clips, but I figure let's get into it. What is this fucking I'm getting goddamn, I fucking hate ads. How do I make this go away? Stop. Stop. I don't want ads. Okay, there we go.
Vaccine, but he wants safe vaccines.
Yeah, so I'm pointing out that I think RFK Jr. is a threat to public health. You're saying he's being hypocritical.
Yeah, he's being hypocritical.
Absolutely.
And
do you know who the #1 hypocrites are? Healthcare providers.
The reality is, if we don't get vaccinated with Jesus, we will.
See, this is what I mean when I say, like, I don't have patience with these people, because my first response to hearing this stupid fucking comment is just to say this. Dude, the Sharpie brows never fail to amaze me. Oh my goodness.
Face God on Judgment Day.
I'm Dr. Mikhail Varshavsky, better known as Dr. Mike across social media. I'm a board-certified family medicine physician who makes content online improving health literacy. And today, I'm surrounded by 20 vaccine skeptics. My first claim
I would personally call them bioterrorists, but I mean, sure, we can call them vaccine skeptics, I
Is
guess.
that anti-vaccine lies cost lives.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Excited to talk about health.
I just had a baby, 7 months old. And, you know,
Oh, it's the first one. It's the very first one.
my baby, I was like, no, I'm not getting any vaccines. The doctors came in. They made me feel like a very bad mother for not doing that, right? I was very pressured. And then I had a family friend who had a baby at the same time, was a few months in, gave vaccines to the baby, and the baby had seizures and has had seizures since. And I've also had a friend who I went on a mission trip with, and this pastor was totally healthy, two young girls, and this pastor literally got a heart attack out of nowhere. And the only thing was he took the vaccine. And there's many cases like that.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the birth of a 7-month-old. The fact that
I love anecdotes. They're just good. Look at Mayor Cat. God bless Mayor Cat. He sees that I need the emotional support right now. He's like, I got you. He's like, I got you. I won't let you sit through this alone. Thank you, Mayor Cat. It's really nice of you to come help me out. I think we all need you a little bit. Oh, who's your good Mayor Cat? Oh, yes, you are. Okay.
that anyone made you feel bad in the healthcare system, I feel like is a failure on us in the healthcare system. So I'm sorry that happened to you. In healthcare, it's very difficult to predict the future because there are so many unknowns and there's so many variables in healthcare. There are things that are a lot that are outside of our control. And we try to do the best with the limited amounts that we can control. So when we see two things happen simultaneously in healthcare, sometimes we think they have caused one another. But unless we see
dude, I can't believe this adult grown woman with children needs to have correlation and causation explained to her.
pattern of that happening over and over again on a large scale,
Right.
it's more likely that this is just a coincidence of things happening at the same time. For example, I have a friend of mine who's a physician who vaccinates children very regularly. And they were about to give a child a vaccine. And before giving the vaccine, the child had a seizure. They went on and had more seizures throughout their life and ended up actually dying at a very young age because of a seizure disorder. But the vaccine was never given. Had that happened 2 minutes later, what do you think would have been in the mother's mind and in the father's mind in that situation, other than, I definitely think that vaccine caused that problem. But it could have just as easily happened before, which it did, and the vaccine wasn't responsible. So it's very difficult when two things happen at
Not everyone knows everything, but if she's willing to learn, that matters. Hopefully she takes something away from this. Her kid is definitely going to be homeschooled. Sorry, just to be clear really quickly, the reason why I get so mad and I get so annoyed when it comes to like anti-vaxxers is that I've known anti-vaxxers. I've known like family friends who were anti-vaxxers. And the problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into. And I've tried this approach of like explaining it to them as patiently as I can. And their response is, well, I guess we'll just agree to disagree. What I've seen doesn't align with what you said. And I don't know if I can trust what you said because you haven't seen what I've seen.
At the same time, to be able to make an exact reason as to if that's what happened
My
to
mom's a doctor and she's anti-vax.
cause it. So what we do is we admit that there's safety issues with vaccines.
Right.
They're not 100% safe. Nothing in life is 100% safe. Driving or walking here today is not 100% safe. I could have a heart attack right now. Cannot predict it. But what we can do is try to do the best that we can with the information that we have.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
That was it. That was it. She didn't respond. She literally got voted out for learning.
Hi, Dr. Mike.
That was smooth. Hello.
Yeah, He's got that wrist flowing. I'm actually a fan of your channel. I've been watching.
This would kill me. This would kill me. This would kill me. If someone was like, I'm actually a big fan of your channel. Anyways, I took all the wrong lessons.
For a while.
Thank you.
I am a pediatric hematology oncology nurse.
Wow, okay.
I think a lot of mistrust in my eyes were opened during the whole COVID pandemic.
Why?
Institutions that were there, I used to be in the military, so when I was in the military, I signed my bodily autonomy away. If they told me to do something,
It gets worse.
And thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
No, I say that in all seriousness because I think a lot of times that kind of becomes habit just to say thank you, but I really do mean that thank you.
I appreciate that. So seeing, how Dr. Fauci, who was just pardoned, and that's a whole other discussion, seeing how we were sold a bill of goods that we, the American tax dollars, paid for while these pharmaceutical companies reaped millions and millions of profits on. And I think that caused the goalpost, the vaccine, this mRNA vaccine, it's going to prevent the transmission of COVID, it's going to prevent you from getting it, and others, if you don't get this vaccine, you hate your grandmother, you're going to kill all these people, and you got to do your duty and get.
Don't fucking nod your head. Brother. Oh my God. Everything about this is like sending me. Every single thing about this guy's vibes is sending me. The fucking felt cutout beard. The fucking cross with the dog tag. Oh my God. I don't like any part of this. I just don't. It's just like, it makes me uncomfortable.
Get it. Well, you know what? My grandmother got it and she died. I saw her take her last breath.
I'm sorry.
And it's a very profound thing to see someone that you love take their last breath and go on to whatever happens after.
Of course.
So when those seats, and it turns out the 6 feet of social distancing was not based on anything, how can you not expect people to question these higher institutions that are deemed to look out for the well-being of people and they don't?
It's a great question.
So just like with Black people who don't trust the government because based on the Tuskegee experience.
Oh my. I'm sorry, what do you mean the 6 feet is based on nothing? I don't know. What do you mean the 6 feet of social distancing is based on nothing? Yeah. Dude, comparing this to like Black Americans that have had to deal with actual medical testing is so crazy. It's just like, this is what I mean when I say you can't reason someone into a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
Experiment in 1932. Actually 40 years after that, the New York Times, they actually infected them with syphilis and they let them infect their families, their friends. It ran rampant. So how do you expect certain people when they've been burned by the government to all of a sudden, all right.
You're right. We should just trust the government never, ever. And we should never trust any government institutions. And we should never trust any institutions. And we should all just do whatever the fuck we want.
Well, I'll trust you now. Ultimately, it's people.
Like, you should have a healthy skepticism of the government. And you should have a healthy skepticism of what the government suggests people do, right? That's why you can read medical papers. That's why you can read how the mRNA vaccines work. That's why you can wait and see, like, well, how are people reacting and responding to the vaccine right now? Like, I'm not saying, you should just give all your trust to the government. But, like, yeah, you should be relatively skeptical because the government has engaged in, in this instance, very racist medical testing. That doesn't mean you suddenly stop trusting all medical institutions. That's insane. That's fucking crazy. I don't even. Also, does she think that all doctors are part of the U.S. government? Like, it's just bizarre to me. I don't even understand what you can. Does she think that all the other all the other countries that pushed for vaccination, they were all in on America's racist experiments. They are all in the deep state. Every single country that tried to manufacture their own vaccine, all of them, they were also all in the fucking conspiracy. Every single one of them. Like, hello?
Just like if someone wants to refuse a treatment, they get it. We give them an AMA form against medical advice. I think it's all up to people's choice and their autonomy.
When is it her turn to talk?
There was a few topics that you touched that I think are really worth discussing. First,
why did they put their flags out? He hasn't even gotten a chance to talk.
Autonomy. I believe that, and that is the sole principle by which we practice medicine. Vaccines fall in a unique category because your decision on vaccinating your child and then sending them to school can impact other children in that school. So much like drinking and driving as an example, your choice to do that puts your life at risk, but it also puts others at risk. So we deem that as dangerous for the general public.
Their metagaming flags up when Mike starts talking.
This is why vaccines, it becomes a little more complicated when we talk about bodily autonomy. When it comes to our government, our mandates, pharmaceutical companies, there's absolutely reasons for distrust. I love that everyone in this room is a skeptic, and I encourage skepticism. I don't think anyone should just go into a doctor's office and say yes, 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 yes. In fact, I love when my patients question me. I empower them to ask questions. Doctors sometimes get this attitude where they're like, oh, you Googled before coming here?
I get the strategy that Dr. Mike is employing. He's being a pick-me for them so that they'll be more willing to listen to him. It makes me mad to hear. Because I don't love that everyone in there is a skeptic. I don't believe in like embracing mass skepticism on every front. I believe that doctors are fallible, and I believe that if you feel like there is something wrong with your body, and you go to a doctor and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you, I think you should seek second advice, like a second form of advice and a third form of advice and everything. Like, I think that the individual doctors that you go to, not second opinion, thank you. Not every single one of those doctors is going to be as qualified as the next one, right? Some doctors kind of suck. I've had doctors that suck that haven't taken my pain seriously. And I think when you're looking for doctors, you should really spend time looking for a good doctor. And if you feel like a doctor isn't taking you seriously, go and get another doctor. Get a second opinion, a third opinion, a fourth opinion. Don't just settle for what one doctor will tell you. Because I've had doctors tell me things that are explicitly wrong. Like, it's literally just wrong what they told me. So I believe in that, but it's because doctors are people, and these people are fallible. The good doctor, no. They're human beings. Human beings can be wrong. Human beings have biases. Like, you should look for a doctor that cares about you and wants to listen to your pain and listen to what your discomfort and your experiences, and wants to take it seriously. Different shirt. There I go. I don't know. Some doctors just don't stay up to date with all the research. I work with a vet that practiced for decades, doesn't know that onions are toxic to dogs. This is another problem as well. Like, there's a lot of doctors who are just like there are a lot of older doctors that just don't keep up with medical research. So their medical research is outdated. They got their fucking license like 40 years ago or whatever, and they don't keep up with papers and don't keep up with emerging tech, emerging medicine. And they just don't know these things. Because I'm not saying it has to even be malicious. I'm only saying that, like, one, not every doctor is going to be a perfect fit for you. And two, not every doctor is going to be able to put themselves in your shoes. Because again, they're still just people. I've had doctors tell me it's just women hormones. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Research doesn't replace my degree. No, that's not how we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
What I get excited about is if you Googled and you have questions, now I know exactly the route I need to take to help you make a decision that's right for you and your family.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
What? This guy again.
That specialize in hobbits and their four stomachs give the medical community a break and stop casting spells to make your same shirt a different color. DNM balls, DNM law. Mayor Cat, thank you for the 17 dead birds I got in the mail.
No, not this guy again, dude. Not the guy that says that you get a tax break as a government agency for hiring black people. No. Also, I like how so far no one has, well, it's only been 2 people, but neither of the people have addressed the points that Dr. Mike has made. It's just been they spoke and then he spoke and then it was over.
How you doing?
Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, Root Scott. Good to meet you as well.
Love the jacket.
Thank you so much. So I really want to talk to you about this claim based on all of the other things that are causing disease, the chronic condition.
Huh? I want to talk to you about this claim based on all of the other things that are causing disease. Okay. I don't think that's an English sentence, but sure, let's go with it.
Conditions that are in this country, all of the metabolic issues, and this is stemming from colonization. Putting smallpox blankets on indigenous cultures, sterilizing people in Puerto Rico, Honduras, all of these different things that have happened. And if you look at Africa, oh, by the way, Bill Gates did say something
Not the Bill. No, no.
interesting. The next war will be fought with biological warfare. And I think that was raising eyebrows, especially when you look at the Kissinger report, right? For those of you who don't know about the Kissinger report, it's all about pretty much reducing the population of the planet. So I don't know how you can make this claim and really defend vaccines in the.
Oh, yeah? You think vaccines are so safe? Well, Bill Gates said the next war was going to be fought with bioterrorism. Checkmate, liberal. Like, what's happening? Ah! This is what I'm talking about. You cannot reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into.
The nature and the world that we're living in, where we are actually going away from nature, and the further we get away from nature, the more diseases we will see. So
Source, he made it the fuck up.
you know, I'm very passionate about this, and I want to be able to have like a real discussion with you because, yes, you're a medical doctor.
True. I want to go back to just like, if there's something wrong with you, your doctor just gives you this like concoction of like cocaine and heroin and then puts leeches on your body. Doesn't matter what you're sick with. You just, that's the cure every time. You're right. We should go back to that.
But this is also a system that J.D. Rockefeller started, getting rid of all types of indigenous practices, and this land is stolen land. So when we're not even honoring the source, when we're not honoring the land, the ancestors, ancestral intelligence, the real AI, when we're not even honoring these things, and we're just supposed to trust science. No, I trust my scientists. I trust Dr. Sebi. I trust Dr. Aris Atham. I trust Dr. Yaki. Because this system is not for us. It's not built for people like me. It's not built for any of us. Because even the opioid crisis, we saw a lot of Caucasians suffering from that. So how—
I don't even know these doctors he's talking about, by the way. I don't know enough of these doctors.
can you sit here and say that this vaccine is killing people when this system is currently killing people?
What's the question right now? Anti-vaccine lies cost lives.
We even have to have an administration that comes in now and says, "Ooh, we got to start looking at all of these different toxins in the food, in the medicine."
I don't have this patience. I just don't have this. The second any fucking crackpot says toxins in the food, I have to do a juice cleanse. Like the urge to drink a glass of lava it's very strong. It's very strong. When do you think he'll stop talking? Do you think it'll be another minute of this?
In the soil. I don't think it's fair for us
9:33.
to take this vaccine when we're already being forced to take polluted food.
When you say take this
Oh my God, it's over, finally. Whew.
vaccine, which vaccine? Are you-
Dr. Sebi is a raw vegan. The branch they believe is that parasites are in everything. Vaccines and pharmaceuticals, GMOs have toxins and other parasites that cause cancer. This is a rabbit hole. It's crazy. Anytime someone brings up raw vegans, for anyone who doesn't know what raw vegan means, it's that you don't cook any of your food. In some instances, there are foods that have like micronutrients in them that diminish when you cook them. And some foods, it is the opposite. It is true that there are certain foods that are better eaten not cooked, and there are certain foods that are much better eaten cooked. This is true. For example, greens tend to be much better uncooked. They synthesize with the heat or whatever, yeah. Raw vegans just eat basically fruits and vegetables uncooked, and that's it. That's the only thing that they eat. Unfortunately, it fails to recognize, and nuts, sorry, that some things, their nutritional value improves when you cook it. For starters, and they just ignore that, to be clear. They just ignore that completely. Well, anyone who's talking about meat, it doesn't matter because we're talking about raw vegans, right? Vegans aren't eating meat or dairy products. They're not eating any animal or animal byproducts. But like, you're not getting more nutritional value from eating a potato raw. I love sweet potatoes. Breaks my tooth. Sweet potatoes are a good example where sweet potatoes, the nutritional value is improved by cooking it. And you can't extract nutritional value out of it when it's fucking raw because you can't fucking eat it. Some foods are improved by cooking them. Even if you ignore meat, even if you ignore fish, dairy products, all of these other things. Raw potato is insane. Yeah. But in general, greens, for example, it's much better to eat greens raw than not raw. Usually, not always. Cassava root has cyanide until you cook it. I can't confirm this, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of foods that, again, you shouldn't be eating raw. Raw sweet potatoes, just eating a rock. Yeah. But whenever I think about the raw vegans, I think about that one lady who was eating like 30 bananas a day or something stupid. And she got like really ill doing that. She like lost her period and she's like, this is a good thing. Yes, freely, yes, yes. Oh, God. Anyways.
What are you talking about?
Well, really all of them, it should be a choice because even when I was younger, I didn't take as many vaccines as the children have to take now. These children are sicker. They're going through more metabolic issues.
What? List me these vaccines. List them to me. You're not that old.
They're having mental health issues. And now I don't think it's just the vaccine. It's the system that's perpetuating this type of lifestyle. Yes, that child who was even in the hospital under those fluorescent lights, I'm not surprised that they had a seizure.
The fluorescent lighting is giving seizures. It's giving you a seizure.
Before, because this is an environment that is not conducive to life. This thing that I'm wearing on my chest is called an ankh. Y'all replaced this. Y'all replaced our cultures. This life representing thing, you replaced it with death culture. This is not
Okay, Moon Knight.
a healthcare system. It's a sick care system. And honestly, I cannot sit here in good faith and not represent all of the people who have come before me.
Yeah, absolutely. I respect that. I came to the United States as an immigrant.
I respect that. See, this is what I mean. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And this guy would start saying this shit and I'd be like, I can't.
living on welfare. So I got put into this same system that you're describing. It's a shitty system. The world is changing in ways that make our lives more unhealthy. We're eating more processed food. We're exposed to more chemicals, usually as a result of products that we actually enjoy. So when I complimented you on that great jacket, when someone wears a specific pretty strap on their Apple Watch, there's chemicals in there. There's forever chemicals in there. So for every amazing thing that we have in society, there's been drawbacks. The good part about our society is that we're constantly monitoring those drawbacks and are trying to create solutions for our own problems. So
Wait, a pretty strap on.
when I think about our current healthcare system, where I think it needs to do better is it needs to focus more on prevention rather than cures. Agree or disagree?
1,000%. Yes, sir.
Do you know how we can do that?
Not through the vaccines, but one way we could do that.
I'm not gonna lie, that was a crazy gotcha. He did kind of get his ass. He kind of ate, dude.
Is connecting more to nature. One way we could do that is making sure that we're not poisoning the
Let me go roll around in the grass. Let me go eat some dirt. That'll stop me from getting COVID.
food. One way we could do that is treating each other better with more respect and actually getting rid of these systems that are putting us against us, this divide and conquer, the media manipulation and all of this fear
What the fuck does this have to do with vaccines?
tactics that was pushed during this vaccine COVID mumbo
What does this
jumbo.
have to do with the prompt?
This was totally
Do you think we should do all of it?
Okay, sorry, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please
Thank you.
return to your seat.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. If the next two guests don't respond to what Dr. Mike says, I don't know if I can watch this. Ew.
Hello.
Ew.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
How are you? Pleasure to meet you. So I'll let you know I'm Tom.
I don't like this guy.
I'm a police lieutenant from northern
Oh
New
my
Jersey.
God.
Okay.
And what struck
Local.
me about your state
Biggest struggle, dude. Oh my God. No fashion sense, no accessory sense, no fucking hairstyle or beard sense. Anti-vaccine, anti-cop. Oh my God.
statement about body autonomy and children and the COVID vaccination. What would you say if I told you I had 3 daughters and my spouse and I had differing opinions on whether our children should be vaccinated with the COVID vaccine?
I would say that your wife should take everything you own and the kids.
And a judge orders that that vaccine be injected into my daughters. I'll give you.
I've never seen a more easy case for a judge. Holy shit, dude. You know that judge was like, I'm so tired of these complicated cases. I was like, there's one and then all this content. What's this case? Oh, he doesn't want to vaccinate his kids. Give his wife everything. All right, finally, something easy, dude. Jesus. Okay, next person. I didn't even get to plead. My kid. What?
Give you a little bit of data first. And this was part of my reasoning with the courts. Risk versus benefit, correct? From 2018 to 2023, if we trust the CDC, their numbers say
I had to put my glasses on. I thought he had a bandage on his chin. It's ugly. The goatees should not be that fucking wide and rectangular. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Back to video.
most deadly thing for our children, the number one deadly thing. Do you happen to know what
It's
it is?
guns.
Accidents.
I'm not going to Fed post. I'm not going to Fed post.
Not necessarily guns, but accidents. Do you know what the number 2? And I'm going from
Not gonna
children
Fed
from
post.
10 to 14 during the height of the pandemic.
Well, a little bit before the pandemic as
A
well.
little bit before, so the numbers are a little bit bigger. The number 2 cause, suicide. Do you know where COVID is on that range of dangers?
Very low.
Very low. That population is about 21 million children in the United States between 2.
I have to pull this information up. I'm sorry. Accidents by what? Oh my God, this fucking CDC website. Oh, it's good. I wish I could find this information easily. It doesn't say cause. I'll try and find this information.
2018 and 2023, there were about 4,000 to 7,000 accidents, about 1,000 suicides. Do you know how many deaths there were from COVID?
No, not offhand.
69. In New Jersey, where I'm from, the height of the pandemic, do you know how many deaths there were? 0. Now,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
now, are you familiar with the VAERS database?
Yes.
So that's for adverse reactions to
Oh my God, not the
vaccinations.
Sorry.
Yes.
During
Hi,
that
America.
time
Welcome
frame,
back.
this is about 6 months out of that period of time, from December of 2020 to July of 2021. The VAERS database, which is the only database we have, there were 14,000 post-COVID vaccination deaths. So how, if you're looking at risk towards benefit, is injecting a child upholding what we call the Hippocratic Oath?
It's literally correlation causation again. It's just correlation causation again. Maybe because as COVID cases were on the rise, more people got vaccinated. And more people didn't get vaccinated and died. Also, this is not what the Hippocratic Oath is.
Right? We talk about the Hippocratic Oath and we extrapolate from that. One of the first things, it's not said in the
Bitch, I didn't die, but now I have an autoimmune disease that developed from COVID before the vaccine existed. I hate this argument. Long COVID is so serious. We're not even, like, long COVID makes me too mad. I don't even want to get into it because it's just, I want to see what fucking grandpa here has to say when fucking Mike says anything real.
When ice cream sales are high, Big Ice Cream doesn't want you to know.
Big Ice Cream doesn't want you to know that if you eat ice cream, you'll get bit by a shark.
Hippocratic Oath, but it's the first thing is to do no harm. Now, as a police officer, I took oath as well. Protect, serve, preserve life and property. In my line of work, there are times when I had to take a life to save one. I don't necessarily think that applies to you, doctor.
And how many dogs was that?
It does not.
Maybe you can give your viewpoint, whether maybe you're for or against, a court ordering the children to be injected with something that there is no harm to. But now we're seeing actual harm.
There's no harm to getting COVID. I'm glad your wife took the kids, dude. I am glad. I am so glad, dude.
With the vaccine, they didn't die from the disease. They're dying from the vaccine.
Yeah, so your point is very...
Fucking Mike, dude. He's just like, what the fuck do I say to someone this stupid? I don't even know. The cop fucking serial killer over here is telling me that I'm the one killing people. Jesus.
very logical. And
Very
you're
logical.
very well researched, and I applaud that because most people will go off their feelings as opposed to looking at the data as you did. So I appreciate that. When you point out that there's been 69 deaths, you said?
Correct. Between
From the
that
CDC
time,
data.
if we trust it.
If we
yeah.
trust it.
And that's like the kicker, by the way. They trust the CDC data whenever it aligns with their perspective, and they don't trust it whenever it doesn't.
There was 13,000, 14,000 deaths?
14,000 according to the VAERS database.
Are you familiar with how the VAERS database works?
I am.
Do you know who can report to the VAERS database?
It's a voluntary report system,
By
so
who?
it's open.
By
It's
who?
open, either to patients, medical providers,
Loved
anyone.
ones, anyone. During a heated political time, during which people are very angry and are reporting things that do happen during a pandemic, isn't it possible that there's people reporting things that after we look at it and judge it off of the VAERS system, that it is in fact not shown to be causative, but in fact a coincidence or a correlation?
So yes, I would say that correlation doesn't equal causation,
Would you say that? Because I don't think you would say that.
but I'll give you another data point to chew on. When I was a law enforcement officer,
Oh my God, I'm trying so
saw
hard.
people that were dying, and then when they were assessing the cause of death, they had a range of other morbidities. And just because
Oh, we're doing the George Floyd died of fentanyl overdose? That's what we're doing now? Okay. Ah! Oh my God, I'm going to explode. I'm going to explode.
died with COVID, they didn't die from COVID. But getting back to the children, none of them did.
I think the reason why
That's not possible to be true. That's literally impossible. You really think it is not a statistical anomaly that not a single child who died that got the vaccine happened to have any other comorbidities? I literally don't believe you. Let me guess. Tomorrow the fucking moon will fall. It'll fall straight from the sky. Oh, Mayor Cat. It's all good. It's all good. Here's the data for the for deaths. Accidents include guns, but you need to be smart enough to parse through the CDC's database to get there. For the third straight year, firearms killed more children and teens ages 1 to 10 than any other cause, including car crashes and cancer. New report from Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions underscores continuing epidemic of gun deaths, including among children, especially among Black youth. The report, Gun Violence in the United States 2022, examining, let me zoom in a little bit for mobile users. Examining the burden among children and teens, assessed the latest finalized data from the CDC, highlighting that 48,000 people, the second highest on record, died from gunshots in the U.S. in 2022, including 27,000 suicides, an all-time high for the country. The annual report's main focus on the year is gun deaths among children 1 to 17. Gun death rates in this age group have increased 106% since 2013 and have been the leading cause of death among this group since 2020. The report also illuminates the disproportionate impact of gun deaths among Black children and teens. In 2022, the 1 to 17 age group, Black children and teens had a gun death rate 18 times higher than that of white children in the same age group. The problem is that what this guy, let me skim really quickly, see if there's anything else in here. Oh, here it is. Firearm fatality statistics cited in the report were derived from the CDC's underlying cause of death database, which is based on death certificates for U.S. residents, including unintentional shootings, shootings by police, and suicides, and homicides. And it's considered the most reliable countrywide source of gun death. Yeah. And what he's talking about, by the way, is this from the CDC, which says underlying cause of death, 2018 to 2023, deaths occurring through 2023. And it lists here the top 15 leading causes of death based on children ages, I think this one was for 10 to 14 is what I clicked into. And it shows the top one is accidents, but it doesn't list how these accidents cause deaths. So you would have to go into a different CDC database to try and find how many of these accidental deaths were caused by guns. And shocker, I know, surprise, It's the most buy guns because it's really easy to hurt yourself with a gun. Shocker, I know, right? Wild. Because kids are really stupid, but there's only so much harm that they can do to themselves with even like a box cutter, right? But a kid fucking around with a gun who doesn't know what he's doing, who doesn't know basic gun safety, can easily hurt themselves. If you as a parent have guns and you don't immediately put your guns back in the gun safe and your kid gets a hold of it and he doesn't know any fucking gun safety rules or policies, like, what is this chat message? 18 times higher in black kids. That's not accident. That's gangs. You must know that. Huh? One, what is this non sequitur? Two, you would need to provide a source for that. You've made an assumption here without any proof of that claim. Huh? All right, back to the video.
Children died is because we immunized so many. A. B, the fact that the court ordered you to do it, it's not really my place to judge, because you have two parents that have two decision-making capacities, and someone has to make a decision. I don't know what's right. I leave that to people who are smarter than me. I can talk about the science of it all. And when we look at the science, yes, COVID is a low-risk proposition for children, but it's not a zero risk. When we look at the COVID vaccine, especially at the peak of that pandemic, when we were seeing hospitals overflooded, when we were losing people left and right, that was our sole way out of that pandemic. So the fact that 0 children died with the vaccination rate that we had, I suspect that the vaccine played a major role in making that happen.
All right, I'm sorry. We're out of time.
I'd love to go with that one.
My next claim is that vaccine-acquired immunity is better than.
Do you think any of them will? Do you think any of them will respond to anything that he says ever in this video? Oh, I'm so happy for you, Gay Ghost Prince. Oh my God, that's so cool. No, surely, guys. Ah ha ha ha. Ah ha ha. Surely. Ah ha ha. What is this clip? Aspen is the go, says Incel for life. Oh, beautiful. Oh my God, what a beautiful clip. Yeah. Oh my God. God bless you guys for sending that to Mike. Mayor Cat.
Clip very short.
Aspen is the go, says Incel for life.
Oh my God! Oh, it's too good to be true. Ah! Damn it, Denims.
Oh, Mike, stop. Okay. Back to the video. Vaccine-acquired immunity is better than natural
immunity. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Mike.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. I want to say first that I'm a mother of 6 children. My oldest 2 children do have vaccines. My 3rd child, he got a vaccine that the doctor said were safe that caused him brain issues for the rest of his life, and he has arrested hydrocephalus. I want to continue to say my youngest 3 children have no vaccines at all. They're perfectly fine. They're advanced. My son has permanent brain injury. So they say vaccine immunity is better, but as a child, when I got vaccines, I ended up with spinal meningitis. I had chicken pox twice. I almost died. But my 3 children that don't have any vaccines are perfectly fine. They've been traveled over 20 states during COVID. They've never got COVID. They've never got sick. Just a healthy diet, keeping them away from toxic foods, making sure their hygiene is good. Did you know that COVID has a patent and natural illnesses can't have patents? Did you know that every illness dated back to polio has a patent? The only thing that doesn't have a patent is the common cold. Did you know that Fauci funded medical schools to try?
Yes, just keep shoveling as much garbage as possible. Yes. I like that the Jubilee fact check doesn't even give you enough time to read any of this shit.
To make the vaccine more, or not the vaccine, make COVID more deadly. Vaccine immunity is not really a thing because they cannot guarantee it makes anybody immune. There's more side effects from getting a vaccine than to not get a vaccine.
That's not... You don't compare getting a vaccine for an illness to not getting the vaccine, period. You compare getting the vaccine and the side effects of getting the vaccine versus getting the illness without getting the vaccine. The control group for that is not, well, you know, when you take the vaccines, there are side effects. And you wouldn't have those side effects if you didn't take it. The control group is, what does it look like to get that illness without the vaccine? Which, guess what? The side effects of getting COVID are, 1, way worse than the vaccine, and 2, way less treatable.
The chances of getting illness not vaccinated versus to getting vaccines is a lot higher than somebody that doesn't eat toxic crap, practices good hygiene. They're more likely to get illness vaccinated versus not vaccinated. There's studies that show unvaccinated children are more healthier. In Japan, they don't start their vaccine schedule, I believe, until 2 years old. Autism is almost non-existent. And
all things lead back to autism, I guess. Famously, no one autistic has ever been born in Japan. Famously, nothing in Japanese culture has ever come from a couple autistic people, ever. Famously, Japan cured autism. There's so much garbage that, like, to try and get through all of it is so impossible. But, like, for starters, really quickly, talking about eating healthy fruits and vegetables, right? Yeah, of course, eating healthy fruits and vegetables is good for you. Of course, that's good for you. Of course, eating fruits and vegetables gives you more vitamins and more minerals and more micro and macronutrients that you should consume. Of course, you're better off when you're consuming a wider variety of foods. That doesn't mean the other foods are explicitly bad for you. Eating an apple being good for you, or eating oranges might be good for you, but that doesn't mean that, like, eating cereal is bad for you. Like, it's just so, I just don't even understand, like, huh?
And this is something that needs to be documented. Dated back to polio, everything has a patent except for the common cold. Mad cow disease, Spanish flu, COVID, everything has a patent. So that leads me to believe Big Pharma has been ruining our people for generations, since the Great Depression, since, like he said, Rockefeller agreed to fund medical schools and the education system around 1920s. Since then, illnesses have increased and increased and increased and increased and increased, and all we ever needed was to take care of ourselves and have good hygiene.
Something I think our healthcare system doesn't do enough is say, I don't know. And I have no idea about Dr. Fauci's patents. I don't know about patents on viruses. I'm a family medicine physician. That means I work in a clinic where people come in with either an acute complaint, something's going on with them, or they're coming in for a preventive physical where we can get ahead of things and make them healthier by preventing illness. In fact, if you think about where pharma's profits are, if pharma had to choose between preventing an illness or to treat an illness for the rest of someone's life, financially speaking, they'd probably want to just treat someone for the rest of their life.
Exactly.
But that's not what vaccines are. Vaccines prevent that illness. They prevent it from happening. And when you brought up the subject of autism, I think it's an important subject, and it's a subject that's been largely debunked by the
Not at
entire
all.
world community.
Not at all. I've seen studies that say otherwise, doctor. So I don't know if you're going off Rockefeller.
I hate that he didn't have the answer to that. If you sequence the DNA, you can patent it. It doesn't mean that you made the DNA. I can't comment on patenting DNA. What I can comment on is like patents are only there to protect companies' profits. That's it. It's not there for any other reason. It's not there for any other reason. It's never been there for any other reason. It's only there for the purpose of protecting capital and protecting capital owners. That's it. There's no secret plan. There's no autism plan. It's just, we want to make money. It's very simple. It's to encourage innovation. Come on. Sorry,
Not
let's
at
go
all.
back.
I've seen
Stop bringing up Rockefeller, please. The topic is vaccine-acquired immunity is better than natural immunity.
studies that say otherwise, doctor. So I don't know if you're going off Rockefeller's medicine or are you going off of holistic medicine as well. As a scientific mind, you're supposed to observe everybody's hypothesis, not just Rockefeller's medical schools. And that's why I feel like you've got most of your knowledge from, and maybe you should branch out into holistic medicine because vaccines have never been the answer. They were.
Denims, I'm sorry, but the lady in the seat has her third eye open. I see all the toxins from your GMO-filled diet funded by the Rockefellers. Have it shut. Sad part is the American healthcare system is so awful, it's very difficult to convince anyone that healthcare is actually a good thing. Yep. Mm-hmm. You know, the worst crime that like Americans, specifically vaccine skeptics, which I think is too kind of a term, have done is mock and make a mockery of one, holistic medicine, and two, Eastern medicine. And these are two very broad categories here. So to break it down a little bit more, it's like a little bit more. The people who think that you should substitute all quote, Western medicine for, quote, holistic medicine. When in reality, you should be trying to do both. For example, one very, very good example is like meditation. For a very long time, people looked at meditation, they were like, what the fuck is sitting there silently going to do for you? Obviously, meditation is meaningless. It's worthless. There's nothing that can be benefited from there. There's no point in doing any of that shit. And we did studies and we found that actually meditation shows promising results in people that do it. It's very good for you. It seemingly really helps people on a variety of fronts, mentally and physically. There's been really cool stuff that has come from people who meditate frequently. Doctors and scientists don't deny this. Sure, I'm talking about medical history over the course of years, right? Like, meditation is something that's relative to Western medicine new, right? Same thing with yoga. Yeah, yoga is another good one. Although yoga, I think now we are more open to the idea that stretching in general is like very good for you, right? But meditation is not a scam. It's pretty much backed by science at this point that it's good for you. It's just good for you. It's very good for you on a variety of fronts. It's really good for your mental health, and it's really good for physical health. It's just good. And even just doing 5 minutes a day is really good. And for the people saying, "Oh, meditation isn't holistic," I'm using broad terms to explain how historically these things that were considered holistic are no longer considered holistic because we have medical studies that back that stuff. All of that is to say there are lots of things that you can do in addition to utilizing modern Western medicine that shouldn't cause any harm. And if it makes you happy and you feel like it helps you, you should do it, right? It doesn't mean you should forego actually going to a doctor, right? Doesn't mean you should forego necessary surgeries or chemotherapy or whatever. But like, if you feel like having crystals in your house helps you in some way or another, sure. I'm not going to stop you. Go for it, dude. If this is like the healing crystal and you like to sit with it for 20 minutes before bed, okay. There's no harm in doing that in addition to going to a doctor, getting your necessary vaccines, getting treated for whatever. There's no harm in doing both of those things. It's like praying, right? If praying makes you feel good, you should do it. Denims, they're not rocks, they're minerals. Humans are very humans are psychosomatic reasons. Use all the placebos you always can. Yeah. I mean, yes. The psychosomatic effects are very real. The bastardization of like Eastern medicine and holistic medicine, as though those could ever replace traditional Western medicine, is the thing that makes me so fucking mad. It's the thing that makes me so fucking mad. Like, it's so infuriating for me.
Created to separate us from spirituality and consciousness. If you look at the ingredients, there's nothing healthy in vaccines. Formaldehyde, all types of stuff. So none of that prevents. Everybody got vaccines, still get illnesses.
I don't know if you guys know that, but formaldehyde apparently is in every single vaccine.
Never seen any prevention of anything.
The prevention from vaccines comes from prevention of death and serious illness. And we've seen that when you study that, not just in the US by the Rockefeller system that you describe, one of the largest studies in the world surrounding vaccines and autism in children came from Denmark with over 500,000 children. That is not a US system, that is not a capitalist system, and they found that there is no pattern.
That's not true.
I'm trying
You can't reason with people. You can't reason with someone who thinks this shit, dude.
To branch out as much as possible.
You've been voted out by the majority.
Okay.
Please
Thank you so
return to
much.
your seat.
She reminds me of my mom. She's actually cooked. I'm sorry for you, chatter. I really am.
Hello, how are you?
So I want to take a minute and put the ball back on your court because you mentioned herd immunity earlier, correct? Well, COVID was COVID one of the most contagious viruses we've had, pretty much?
I don't know, historically speaking, but it was definitely incredibly contagious.
Okay.
In fact, because it wasn't so deadly, was the reason why it was such a problem.
You want herd immunity. How would we achieve herd immunity if a virus is so contagious that wouldn't it spread across the population before we get it all vaccinated?
Not every vaccine can create herd immunity, but it can create herd protection. There's two different types of viruses that exist, and there's long incubation diseases and there's short incubation diseases. The simplest way I could explain it is how quickly you get sick after you're exposed to this infection.
This is the first guy that's willing to like actually have a conversation, that isn't just interested in talking at him.
That's short incubation. So if it's fast, it's short incubation. If it's long incubation. Now, when you look at a disease like smallpox, for example, that's a long incubation illness. It means it gives your immune system a chance to create a response to it. So if you've been vaccinated, even if you've been vaccinated a long time ago, your body has the time to create protection even after it's been exposed. For short incubation illnesses like the common cold, influenza, COVID-19, it's very difficult to create complete protection because even though you've gotten some protection from getting the vaccine in a short period of time, that immunity wanes and the long-term protection you get is only valuable against serious illness like death, hospitalization, et cetera. Okay. So you can't get perfect herd immunity for short incubation diseases.
Okay, thank you. So
that was very well explained. Someone actually talking about the problem.
There were certain groups of people who were exempt from getting the COVID vaccine, like if you were under a certain age or over a certain age, or if you had immunocompromised problems or whatever. So if those people can't get the vaccine, and those are the people who are most vulnerable. And a lot of people in this room believe, well, a lot of people's natural immunity is good enough to fight the disease. Then like, why would we get the vaccine when the people that, you know, if they can't get it, then they could die anyways, you know?
Yeah, so the point of that is by getting the vaccine as a healthy person, I believe that's better than having natural immunity. And that doesn't mean that by getting the vaccine, you have a better response or a stronger response. In fact, many times, actually getting the disease will give you a better response. But do you know what you have to do in order to get that response?
Like, get the virus in you?
Correct, which means you have to have all the potential risks of having severe disease, death, and largely we've forgotten how serious these viruses and bacteria are, where in the 20s, in the 50s, in the 80s, the deadliness of those diseases has been largely forgotten. One of the vaccines we give to children is called Haemophilus influenza. That causes meningitis. We don't see that anymore. The residents that were trained 20 years before me, every time they were in the emergency room, they learned how to do a spinal tap to diagnose this type of meningitis because of that bacteria. I've never learned how to do it. I'm not trained how to do it. Now we have to rely on interventional radiologists to do the procedure because of vaccines. So the reason why I say that vaccine immunity is better than natural immunity is because you don't have to survive the actual illness.
Okay. Well, that was my question.
Thank you.
They can get another guy.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Mike.
They should take these people to a hospital and show them what happens when you don't get your vaccine. Best way to change their mind. Well, the problem is that I would agree with you if I hadn't already seen the fallout from COVID-19. And there were people literally on their deathbed in the hospital dying of COVID. And they said, I still wouldn't get the vaccine. And then they died. I'm not joking. The only reason that people didn't want to get vaccinated against COVID is because there's no physical indicator of it. If you had to deal with like getting fucking pustules all over your face and body, people would have gotten vaccinated. I'm not joking. I'm totally serious. Like, you have to understand that the type of people that are anti-vaxxers, they only respond to shapes and colors. So they have to physically see the illness on you, like smallpox. Because then they have something, they have a shape and a color to react to. It's like, oh, circle, red, all over, look bad. I don't want that. Maybe eating raw carrot not save me from that. Maybe I get vaccine. Yeah, I get vaccine for that. I get vaccine for that. That looked bad. Bleeding orifice. Maybe apple not keep me from away from doctor. Yes. I'm not joking. I know, like, I'm being hyperbolic and I'm insulting the people who are anti-vaxxers, but I'm also not joking. Like, the reason that COVID was as bad as it was is because you couldn't see it. Because all of the damage that was being caused was inside. Because when we actually took like scans of people's lungs, for example, who got COVID, people who had like bad reactions to COVID, their lungs were worse than people who had been smoking for like 30 years. Like, the damage to their lungs was that bad. Like, permanent scarring. But you can't see it because it's inside.
Mike, Eliezer.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as
I
well.
was actually binge watching your videos this week.
I'm an ICU nurse, and people who want to talk about comorbidities have no fucking idea what COVID was doing to people.
Thinking it was going to be you.
How see when inside? How know this scan not fake? This must be woke media scan. Oh my God, not this guy. Oh, I hate this guy.
It was going to be you, but you are very good faith, which I respect. Can I ask you a question in terms, because as a vaccine skeptic, the burden of proof is on you to show that vaccines do work. So what evidence would you have that vaccines actually work?
The fact that people don't have iron lungs anymore? Hello?
Vaccines, unlike other drugs, and there have been claims made about this in the wrong direction, where people say that vaccines aren't as tested as, let's say, pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm.
Because vaccines are given to healthy people to
recipe, and it tasted great. Slightly cheesy though.
No, don't say that.
prevent disease, we test them an incredibly higher amount than pharmaceuticals. So that means pre-market testing before we bring them out. That means while we give them and after. We actually have a system called the Vaccine Safety Data Net that monitors millions of doses of the vaccines to see if a pattern gets elucidated through giving the vaccine. So we have all stages of the vaccine process monitored because we are trying to do our best to make sure that we help children and adults when they are due for a vaccine.
Okay, so you just, at the end, you said it pretty much sounds like you have to have a good intention. For example, we're not in the labs actually seeing the vaccine process or the clinical trials, so we have to just take the expert's word and trust it, right?
Well, when you fly in a plane, you're not in the cockpit.
Right, so we put our faith in that. So you would say that we just have to put our faith in the experts, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
I mean, not exactly, right? Because you can read the medical papers. The difference between just like blind faith here is just that if you don't feel like reading the medical papers and the medical journals, then you would just say, okay, well, I trust these people because they know way more than I do. But you can read it. There might be a lot of words you don't know, but you have a computer. You're an adult. You have a functioning brain. I don't know what this word means. Okay, look it up. And then go through until you know what every single word in there means and your understanding of it is good. And then you will find, oh, wait, really? Is this really what they found? Oh, okay. Interesting. You don't have to just say, well, I can't read this, so I don't know if I can trust them. Huh? What? Huh?
This would require, number one, a good intention. So they have a good intention to help people, to make their lives better, and also they have to be ethical. Is that correct?
Those are reasonable things, yeah.
Okay, so if they fall outside of the purview of those two criteria, would you say it is reasonable for us to be skeptical?
I think it's reasonable to be skeptical at any moment.
But taking those two things, if they violate either of those two, would it give someone else more justification to be against it?
Sure.
Okay, so when we look at the biggest developers and distributors and sellers of the vaccines, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, all these big pharmaceutical companies, when we look at their track record, we see they have been deceptive. They've had big settlements, billions and billions of dollars, fraud, misleading the public, concealing clinical trials that were against their favor from the public. So when we have to put our whole faith and trust in these people that have been through huge billions of dollars of settlements, and they have proven that they have been unethical, they have made more profit.
And guess what? You can look at other countries like Cuba, which were able to formulate their own vaccine with the mRNA technology that we have. And you can find these government agencies or these medical agencies or these pharmaceutical companies were able to formulate vaccines that are safe and effective. If you don't trust Pfizer, you don't have to take it from Pfizer. You don't trust Johnson & Johnson, you don't have to take it from Johnson & Johnson. You can look at the other countries that were able to formulate their own vaccines.
Through the COVID times than ever before as well. Why should we trust them so lightly, taking into consideration the fact that we're not in the labs with them, taking the fact that they are profiting?
And what would you do if you were in the labs with them? Get in their way? It's not like you would understand it because you see them fucking putting some shit in vials. You'd be like, interesting.
Well-being. Why should we trust them so lightly?
It's not a blind trust. Who you're trusting is the independent reviewers that review the data that they put forward.
Okay, but is this political or is this science?
He's not going to respond. That was such a good response from Mike, and he's not going to respond.
Health is as much public health as it is individual health.
Okay, but would you say guys like Dr. Peter McCullough or Dr. Rich, would you say that they are probably not good experts that we should adhere to?
I don't know who those people are.
So they're very anti-vax, or they've provided solutions like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and they've stated over 200 peer-reviewed studies from different types of trials showing the efficacy of those kind of medications that are alternatives to COVID or the vaccination. But what I'm kind of getting to is that we're supposed to trust this specific agenda. So Pfizer, WHO, which once again, if we look at the track record,
these aren't chiropractors again, right?
haven't had a great track record. So it sounds like to me it's more of a political thing instead of a science thing. When you guys say trust the science.
I like how he asked him if it's a political question or it's a science question. And he said, well, like, what are you asking me? I think it's just a public health thing. And then he said, well, I think it's political.
Science and trust the experts, you actually mean this group of experts. Because whenever big experts like RFK, even if you want to say he's not a doctor, he's not licensed, but his friends, Peter McCullough, Dr. Rich, they are great experts. They've had some of the most reviewed studies in the medical field. I don't see why we have to deny their science and their expertise and go with this set of people.
I think when you...
Well, I like what these doctors say. They make me feel smart. So I'm going to listen to these doctors.
Look at the grand scheme of things, you have to look at consensus. And when you look at consensus, not just the United States, you look at the WHO. This is a world organization. This is not a United States organization. In fact, we just pulled out of the WHO funding-wise. So this is the most unbiased you can get.
Also, the study that he's referring to, by the way, came out during COVID and was later rejected. Was later rejected after a peer review by the scientific community. Excellent.
Can you erase human bias from research? Absolutely not, because it's done by us, and humans are inherently biased. When you talk about Pfizer's past mistakes or whichever organization you want to choose from the pharma side of things, to be skeptical of them is so important. And the way that they've been lacking transparency for a long time, especially when it comes to pricing and the way that they've chosen their development of medications, I'm the first person to admit that that is valuable. But when we say Pfizer, where we say Purdue or one of these pharmaceuticals, there are people that are working there that are researchers that you're talking about. The shareholders, the people that are investing in those companies are a different set of people. So when we get data from Pfizer and is brought to the advisory committee in the CDC or the FDA, these are independent bodies that are trying to verify.
You know his ass is not listening at all. You know he's not listening at all.
Verify through a peer review process if that is true. They're trying to do their best with the knowledge that...
This is one of the doctors he brought up, Dr. Risch, or Risk. I don't know how to pronounce him, sorry. Concerns about the special article on hydroxychloroquine and is this like ivermectin, the go-to name for it? Dr. Riz. In May, this journal published an opinion piece by one of the members of the editorial board, Dr. Harvey Riz, whatever. The review that reviewed several papers that argued that hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin early to treat symptomatic COVID-19 cases in high-risk patients should be broadly applied. As members of the journal's editorial board, we strongly are supportive of open debate in science, which is essential even on highly contentious issues. However, we must be thorough in our examination of the facts and open to changing our minds when new information arises. In this commentary, we document several important errors in the manuscript, review the literature he presented, and demonstrated why it's not sufficient quality to support the scale-up, and then discuss the literature that has been generated since its publication, which also does not support use of this therapy. Unfortunately, the current scientific evidence does not support that HCQ and AZ is an effective treatment for COVID-19, if it ever did, and even suggests many risks. Oh, it's an antibiotic, Z-Pack, Eminers, thank you. Continuing to push the view that it is an essential treatment in the face of this evidence is irresponsible and harmful to many people already suffering from an infection. Incredible. Incredible. Wow, what a shocking development. You mean to tell me that you have to do more than show 1 or 2 edge cases, like Joe Rogan's nipples getting gigantic because he took ivermectin or whatever. The problem is that, like, actually, this is a very good opportunity to tell you guys to go watch ContraPoints' video on conspiracies. Because ContraPoints' video on conspiracies talks about this. They're not attached to any of these things. They're attached to the idea that they've figured it out and that they understand something that we don't. We sheeple don't understand, that they did it. They broke down the system. They've gone through the programming. They took the red pill and they understand. They are conspiracists, or conspiracy theorists before they are anything else. It makes them feel special, and they actively avoid anything that makes them feel stupid. Bro said, let's use HCQ, a drug used against parasite, and AZ, a drug used against bacteria, to treat a disease caused by a virus. Yeah, it's just insane. It's just insane. I do research on cochlear implant populations where samples are often very small. We have to be very careful about how we report. Yeah, I mean, like, there are a variety of reasons why a study could be bad, why a research paper could be bad, or could be non-conclusive, which is the correct term. One example that all of us know of is sample sizes. If your sample size is 10 people, it's just too small. It's just too small. It's just not enough people to be able to recommend that form of treatment to everybody. You need large sample sizes. You need lots of different groups of people by race, gender, age. You need to organize all of those people clearly in your papers. You need to make sure you document it very well. You need to make sure you know the health consequences after the study, and you need to know what potential health, what their current health looks like, right? Their weight as well is an important one. Like, certain things are going to impact different people differently. And when your sample size is like 10 people, who are those 10 people? Anyways,
We have. Will we have perfect answers? Will they?
Also, just saying, just because something is peer-reviewed, it doesn't mean it's a magical spell. That means it's correct. There are still good and bad studies even after review. It's a minimum standard, not a high standard. Correct.
There'll be mess ups, absolutely. But that doesn't mean you just throw everything out the way and say, hands up, we failed before, so we can't fail again.
I would agree that there's a difference between mistakes and deception. So deception is an intent. You're intending to have malice towards someone, right? You're intending to make more money by lying to the public. You're intending to make more money or more profit.
Never, thank you.
By not showing all the clinical studies that were conducted that show adverse reactions to the thing that you're putting forth. So that's where I would also make a delineation that there's mistakes, which we can all make, and I would also say science can make mistakes, but then there's this other section, which is an intention.
How do you judge intention?
That's the thing, is with these kind of companies, we have to assume good intention.
All right, sorry, you've been voted.
No, you don't. Again, the research, you can read it yourself. You have to have trust for medical institutions if you don't feel like reading it yourself, but you can read it yourself. I mean, like, I wouldn't consider myself a skeptic. I would just consider myself someone who doesn't trust individuals, because I can't trust that any individual doctor or company or corporation is giving me the best product or giving me the best service, right? A very small example. I've talked to you guys about getting into skincare, and the skincare stuff is like fucked up because there's so much about skincare that is just marketing. So, for example, like retinol. Retinol is vitamin A, and the TLDR on retinol is that it helps turn over your skin, like cells, faster, which makes your skin look brighter, which helps you with like scarring, which helps you with all this other stuff, right? And retinol that's formulated for stores, you cannot verify that the retinol in a Sephora actually has a reasonable amount of retinol, right? And people who have done research on store products, they'll pull them. Maybe the product says 5% retinol. And when they actually run the testing to see how much of the skincare product actually has it, it'll be like 1%. Because the standard for average skincare products that are sold in stores is not very high. And there's no one really testing them because they're not FDA approved or anything, right? You can get retinol that has to be specifically prescribed by a doctor, by a dermatologist. One such example would be tretinoin, which tretinoin is the go-to retinol that is the only one that is clinically proven to help with photoaging, sun damage, essentially, whether it's sunspots or wrinkles from sun damage or whatever, and acne scarring. Unless you have psoriasis or something or whatever, tretinoin specifically, is the go-to for just taking care of your skin, keeping it looking tight or whatever, and getting rid of like any scarring. Tretinoin is the go-to for skincare. But guess what? It goes further. I went to my dermatologist. I asked for tretinoin, and she gave me a bottle of tretinoin. And I went home and I did some more research, and they actually have since formulated tretinoin microspheres. And tretinoin microspheres are a new formulation of tretinoin that allows you to administer even less tretinoin, because tretinoin is it's an acid. It's very I think it would be considered an acid. It's very potent on your skin, and you will have adverse side effects, at least for the first month. It's very abrasive. Yeah. But tretinoin microsphere allows you to put a smaller amount because the method that it's being absorbed is different. And I went back to my dermatologist and I was like, hey, I saw you prescribe me this. Is there a reason you didn't prescribe me this microsphere? Because from what I read in these papers with like sample sizes of like hundreds or thousands of people, tretinoin microsphere is just simply better than normal tretinoin. The microspheres had better impacts on people's skin with less side effects on people's skin. And it was just less abrasive with better results. And you know what she told me? It is not better. It is better. There's plenty of studies that can show you that it is better. I mean, I did all this research already. I sat down for like hours reading these studies. And you know what she told me? She told me, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know that existed. Thank you for letting me know that this exists. Yeah, I'm happy to prescribe it for you. It's the same, just a different dose? No, it's not. No, it's not. The TLDR is, I don't trust that doctors have perfect knowledge of every single item that they prescribe, and they don't have perfect knowledge of every single illness that can exist, every single product that exists, every single, they don't have perfect knowledge, right? They can't know everything. So I will sit down and read studies, figure stuff out, and then I will go talk to a medical professional and ask them questions and be like, hey, I read about this. I can send you everything. I read about it. Is there a reason that this is not prescribed? Or like, is there a reason you didn't prescribe this? And when the response is, oh, I just didn't know about it, I'd be happy to prescribe it for you. I mean, I'm taking a look at it right now and it looks good to me. Again, medical professionals, they have their own lives. Like they have families, they have outside of their job, they have families, they have hobbies, they have things they want to do with their time. They don't spend all their time just sitting there fucking researching stuff. I think it's like tretinoin, but it's in spheres of some sort of lipid, so it's much better absorbed than regular tretinoin, so you require lower doses for the same effect. Yes, that's my understanding as well. And also, like what, this person is supposed to keep up with everything? It's not possible, right? So I'm not saying, go read a bunch of things on the internet, go read some blog post and then do whatever the fuck you want. I'm saying if you feel like your doctor might not know the best for you, ask them about it. Talk to them about it. I'm not a doctor. I know I'm not a doctor. I'm just someone who likes to read things on the internet, and I can go talk to my doctor about it. And if I feel like my doctor isn't listening to me or they just are refusing to listen to me, I'll go talk to a different doctor and go to a different dermatologist and say, do you know about this? Do you know if this is better? Do you know, because again, They're just people. They don't have perfect knowledge of every single thing, right? I think that that's a little bit different from being a skeptic, right? I think it's it's a little different than whatever the fuck this is, where it's like, yeah, well, Johnson & Johnson, they've done bad stuff in the past, so it means you can't trust anything they do ever. Huh? What? Okay, sure. Second opinions are a thing for a reason? Yeah. But like you can read this stuff if you want to. You don't have to blindly trust these companies. You don't have to blindly trust fucking Pfizer. You can read these things if you want to. A lot of this stuff is available online for you to be able to read it. You can sit down, see the methodology. How many people did they sample? How long was the study? What, if it's like a health study, what were they eating outside of it? Did they track what they ate outside of it? Did these people have any previous illnesses? Were there any side? You can read all this stuff yourself. You don't have to blindly trust it if you want to. People do tend to blindly trust it because it's a lot of work. Like, I didn't do that much reading for the vaccine, but also like I saw people around me getting vaccinated and not a single person I knew out of the hundreds of people that I know of got vaccinated and were ill. Also, on a general principle, I'm sorry, but like when even the Fox News hosts are getting vaccinated, when the people that are skeptical, that are telling you to be skeptical of vaccines are getting vaccinated, yeah. What makes you think these people can read above a second grade level? Oh my God. You also have to be able to understand what you're reading, though. I mean, yeah, but it means it'll take you longer. But anyways, I'm gonna be honest, guys. I don't think I can watch the rest of this. I don't think I can. It's like, because at least with the Sam Cedar one, like we were getting owns, so it was very funny. But this one, it's like no one is getting owned because he's being so polite because he thinks he's going to be able to change their mind. Because this is his strategy. I mean, I think it's good to have people like this who this is their strategy. But also no one's going to be convinced because, again, these people didn't logic their way into that position. They're not going to logic their way out of that position. These people are too brain broken, I think. In my opinion. It's all this just saying this. It's just, ugh. It's all just the same stuff. I watched the whole video. I'm sorry that you had to watch the whole video, dude. I'm sorry. I think it'd be much more useful to watch like a video about vaccine skeptics or anti-vaxxers. And what made them stop being anti-vaxxers. I think that is way more useful. Since we touched on skincare, what do you use to combat under eye bags? I've read caffeine is really good for them. And they make like, there's products that are formulated with caffeine that I think are pretty good. So I would recommend that. And honestly, like cold. Honestly painful to watch. People are so deluded. Yeah, you're telling me, man. If anyone here doesn't have anti-vaxxers in your family, like consider yourself fucking blessed. Because I will tell you as someone who does, it's the worst. It's so worse. It's so bad, sorry. It's so bad. It's not good. You can't get to them. You can't reach them. I personally think the best thing you could do for an anti-vaxxer is send them the video from H. Bomber Guy, because again, to get into that conspiracy theory in the first place, you have to be into like conspiracism, and you have to be into the idea of like, oh, I've uncovered the truth. I've uncovered the secret truth. And I think the way that you feed to them that like all of the vaccine skepticism started because one guy tried to make money and knowingly abused children to do that. you're basically telling them this is the real truth, that the real they people didn't want, the real, not even the doctors. This goes even deeper than that. This guy is what started it all along. Andrew Wakefield, this guy. And the vaccine skeptics don't want you to know about this guy so that they feel like they learned it themselves. That's the only way that I've thought that would work. That's the only thing I can think of.